Do you have friends or family members that are always pushing your buttons? In fact, in some regards, they are triggers to you in these past wounds and past hurts. And maybe you have to be around them this Thanksgiving and Christmas and holiday season. And you need some steps for how not to be triggered. And that's what we're going to talk about today on the episode with Dr. Kimberly Boone. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to this edition of Creating the Future with me, Dr. Brent Simpson, where we dive into stories and truths and deep questions that help us shape our faith, our families, and our future. And we've been on a little bit of a series right now because we're right smack dab in the middle of the holidays. We're right here at Thanksgiving, about to be Christmas and New Year's. You're going to be around family. Some of these family that you're around are loving and gentle and sweet, and you love being around them. But let's be real, there might be some others that you find yourself around that they're not so loving and they might cause some tension and some stressors and maybe even triggering you. And so last week we talked a little bit about navigating that with Kingsley Grant. I hope you watched that. That was awesome. Great conversation with Kingsley of how to navigate this Thanksgiving season. Today we're just taking it another step forward with my special guest, Dr. Kimberly Boone. Love Dr. Kimberly. From the first time I ever met her, she has a smile that is contagious, and you're going to see that in just a second. But Dr. Kimberly is a doctor of Christian counseling and clinical psychology and a certified life coach. She's known for her contagious smile that I just mentioned and effervescent personality. She acts as a channel of God's love through which she speaks life and empowers clients in her counseling to move forward into their fully given, God-given identities and unique kingdom purposes. She's one of the counselors and coaches for our Arise Counseling Center and does an outstanding job. I hear all the time how amazing she is. In fact, every time her name ever comes up in my presence, people talk about how great she is, how much she has helped them as she operates in her kingdom authority as a most high daughter of the King, and even works in a little bit of deliverance with counseling and all of this coming together to make sure that he who the Son sets free is free indeed. I love it because she is a true minister who is not just a counselor, not just using good psychological traits, not just her education, which is wonderful, but she really listens to the Holy Spirit, and I think that is the greatest thing we could ever have in psychology. And so, Dr. Kimberly Boone, welcome to the show today. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me. What an intro. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Well, it is so true. It is so true. I don't get to see you all that often, but I hear about you all the time
Mm,
and love it every time I do. All right, so
for
today
sure.
we are going to look at 4 steps, and we could call it some different things. 4 steps to
Yeah.
not get triggered this holiday season. I hate the word triggered
Mhm.
myself, but I understand its role. We could talk about 4 steps to navigating the holidays, but here's the simple fact: there are some family members that just want to set you off.
Yeah,
And
they're
whether
tough.
it's conservative, liberal politics, or whether it's something that happened 20 years ago that one of the two
Right.
haven't forgiven yet, whatever it is, there could be a million things that it is. But we get around these holiday these family members this holiday season, and sometimes it can just be more fireworks than the Fourth of July. So
For sure.
4 steps. So just start talking to us about that. What's your experience helping to coach clients through the holiday
For
season?
sure. Well, first of all, I love this topic. It's right on time with Thanksgiving just a few days away. I wanted to start with some statistics first,
Hmm.
just to show you that you are right on it. 70% of Americans feel the pressure in the holidays, and it's
Ooh,
pressure to seem happier than they really are. That
wow,
70% of people are faking, right? They are
wow,
walking around with
wow.
smiles, faking at the dinner, faking when mom opens the door, right? And that's problematic, right?
Mhm.
Especially if you're a believer, right? We want to be moving in our authentic selves. 64% of people, they just prefer to skip the holiday gatherings
Ooh,
altogether,
wow.
right? That's a lot of people. And according to the American Psychiatric Association, dealing with family dynamics is on the top of the list. It's like the top three of stressors,
Hmm.
with 35% of people saying my family dynamics is the reason why I
Mm.
don't even want to engage in
Wow.
holiday stuff.
Wow.
That's a lot of people, which means there's a
Wow.
lot of people that need help with this.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
And
so sad because God has given us family. Family should be beautiful, and far too often family becomes toxic instead of beautiful. And yeah, that's just such a sad statement. So, all right, so start walking us through what are some of these four steps? How do we
for
navigate the holidays this season?
So there's a lot of pre-work first, I should say,
Hmm.
with step number one being one of the things that we got to do first. And number one is know yourself and accept your needs, right?
Mm.
Now that's easier said than done,
Hmm.
but knowing myself and accepting my needs means that I am choosing to prioritize my health.
Mm.
Now, Dr. Britt, when I say I'm choosing to prioritize my health, I'm just not talking physical health.
Hmm.
I'm talking mental health and
Hmm.
emotional health. And a
Yeah.
lot of times as Christians, we just think Jehovah Rapha is just for, he is just the God of physical health. But he really wants us to move in a healthy mind and healthy
Yeah.
emotions, right?
Yeah.
And so in order to do that, I got to know myself and accept my needs. And so a lot of us don't even know ourselves or know our
Hmm.
needs, right? I
Hmm.
know I didn't until maybe mid 30s, right? When my best friend challenged me. Um, but if that's you and you're like, oh, I really don't know what I need, I just know I don't like these people that I got to go have family dinner with.
Mm.
I think a couple questions can help you know yourself. Number one, what brings me joy?
Mm.
Right?
Hmm.
Whatever that is, you want to incorporate that in the holiday season, right?
Right.
Maybe you love the double fudge chocolate, cupcakes, right? Maybe you want to bake those. That's
Yeah.
going to make you happy at the dinner. Bring that to the dinner, right? Another question that can help you is what makes me nervous? Right? Another one is what depletes my energy, right?
Mm.
Maybe you don't need to do all the things, right? Maybe mom has four family things planned. Maybe I only need to go to two,
Mm.
right? Another question that I love, Dr. Brent, is what dysregulates me, right? And that's just a fancy way to say what causes me to be out of sorts. You
Hmm.
know, what makes me angry? What just triggers me? Right? We're going to talk about triggers in a little bit, but you need to know what those things are so that we can either A, avoid them, or B, prepare for them. And so
Right.
that would be step number one, just knowing yourself and accepting that so that we can prepare.
Yeah, that's so good. That's so good. I think, we are a soul at the end of the day, and there's different versions of what people believe that is. I would say I would follow the camp of like Dr. Dallas Willard, who would say we are body, mind, and spirit. And at
Mm,
the end of the day in America, we really emphasize the body. We might overemphasize the body. I mean, there are gyms all over the place. People spend a lot of money trying to take care of their physical health, but we do very little for our mental health and even less for our spiritual health. But that's a probably a whole nother conversation for a whole nother day. But our
mm,
mental health is really just coming back into the picture because unfortunately, when we're not mentally healthy, it forces us to, just like when we're not healthy, we run to the doctor.
yeah,
When we're not mentally healthy, we have to run to somebody who can help us, like yourself. And I think that's
right.
so important. And I love how you say, know yourself. And you and
Mhm,
I both have certifications in life coaching and things. And one of my certifications is in what they call positive psychology coaching, which
mhm.
really is just like helping you be happy. You know, and
Right,
I felt like you go through all these hours of study for this thing, and I feel like at the end of the day, it's like, hey, what makes you happy? Do that. It's not that
right.
complicated. Do what makes you happy, and if something's not making you happy, try to figure out a way not to do that. And so
Yeah,
it could even maybe be, it's not that simple, but maybe that's a step this Thanksgiving, that listen, if this person makes you unhappy, don't find yourself in a room alone with them. It's just keep some
sure.
distance
That's
between you.
exactly
Know
right.
yourself, know what
Know
makes you
yourself.
happy, know what doesn't make
Mhm.
you happy. Although if those double fudge brownies make you too happy, you might want to stay a little bit away from
Right,
those too,
exactly. I was
right?
gonna say you might have to put some limits on what makes you happy. An example that I can give you personally is I used to think I was socially um, that I suffered with social anxiety. And my sister would say, "What are you talking about? Like, you're the prom queen." And I'm like,
Mm,
"I don't know. Like, girl, something happens to me when I
mm,
get around people." And I finally realized what it was. It wasn't social anxiety, but Dr. Brent, I need breaks. After
Wow.
about an hour and a half, when I've been around people and people have been pulling on me and pulling on the anointing,
Hmm.
um, I get drained. So I need to
Yeah.
step out for some fresh air just for about 10, 15 minutes, right?
Yeah.
And just refresh and come back. Ever since I discovered that about myself,
Hmm.
I've been good. I can get through the whole event now,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? I know what I have to do because I know myself and I've accepted this is something I got to do if I'm going to last to the end. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's
So,
so good.
yeah,
That's such a practical example right there. That might set somebody free right there because there's
yeah,
probably a
for
lot of
sure.
us that we are
Mhm.
introverts or introverted and we love our family, but you love it to an extent, and then you just need to go for a walk, go outside, get away for a few minutes.
And I remember last Thanksgiving, my best friend and I, we actually went for a walk
Mm.
around the neighborhood and I came right back. My guests were still in place. It was fine. They were at my house, but I was like, I'll be
Yeah, yeah. That's so good. That's
right.
so good. I love that first step. So know yourself, recognize those
Know
things. All right,
yourself and accept your needs.
love it.
The second step is acknowledge any trauma.
Hmm.
Now, because trauma and triggers, Dr. Brent, is why we don't want to go to the dinner, right?
Right.
If we filter it all down, it's because of the trauma and the trigger. So step number two, know the trauma,
Hmm.
or acknowledge that you have trauma. And I like to define trauma, Dr. Brent, as any shock, surprise, uncertainty, overwhelm, or flood of emotions that you have experienced, right? And we don't know when that's going to go away, right? And
Hmm.
so when trauma comes in, right, through that shock, that surprise, that uncertainty, that overwhelm or flood of emotions, it gets stuck somewhere in the body,
Hmm.
right? And so trauma has to be worked out. And
Yeah.
so if I know that Thanksgiving is in a few days and I know that I have some trauma, that means that I need to work something out, right?
Hmm. That's good.
I either need to speak to somebody, right? Talk therapy is wonderful because of voicing, right, the pain of the experience, it actually activates the healing,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Um, Again, it's only a few days away, Thanksgiving, so maybe you can't find a counselor, maybe it's a friend,
Yeah.
but know
Yeah.
that if it's a friend or a family member, they may not have the capacity to help you, right? Another thing that you can do, um, as you acknowledge the trauma is let's go ahead and set a boundary. Like I
Hmm.
noticed I got this trauma. I might need to put some boundaries in place before Thursday.
Hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so once we acknowledge it, which again, as the body of Christ, we are not the best at doing,
Hmm.
right? And the reason why we're not the best at doing that is because there's this stigma in the church around mental health,
Hmm.
right? It is, well, if you're suffering in that way, you haven't prayed enough, right? That is a myth, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or you got a demon,
Yeah.
right? And so we've become very good at stuffing that thing that happened to me when I was 12 down, right?
Hmm.
We're stuffing the thing down that I struggled with all of my life, or I'm hiding that I got a problem with overeating,
Hmm.
right? And
Hmm.
so acknowledging that thing,
Yeah.
that's like, that's necessary. That's so
Absolutely.
necessary.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. The only thing we're stuffing this Thanksgiving should be the turkey, right? No, we're not
Exactly.
stuffing
That's
anything
all
else
we
down.
want to do.
How would you
Exactly right.
how would you define trauma here? So I've had this conversation with a lot of people because there's abuse and there's neglect. And abuse
Yeah.
is really obvious. I mean, we know if we've been abused for the most part. I mean, it's pretty clear.
Yeah.
What's not recognized is neglect, and neglect can be
Mhm.
just as catastrophic to us, but we don't realize it's
Absolutely.
there until somebody starts pointing it out. And we tend
Yes.
like we don't always we can recognize the abuser and say they abused me, they did wrong. But when somebody neglects us, I have found that people tend to try to make the abuser or the neglector look not so bad. They're trying to
Very
protect
true.
them, and yeah, yeah.
Yes. It's so funny you asked this question. I had a client today that she had a very difficult season with her husband last year. And today we were talking about some things, and I walked her through that season. So I know exactly what she experienced. as we were talking today, she minimized it. And she said,
Mm.
well, I mean, she was like, you know, me and him were traumatized. And she goes, traumatized is just such a strong word. I mean, it's not like we were on the front lines of war or
Right,
anything
right.
like that. Or and I said, no, no, no,
Mm.
hold up, because we're not going to minimize this. I know
Right.
what happened back then. And you're right. You both were traumatized. That was the right word. And why did I say that? Because their situation had brought shock. It had brought surprise, uncertainty, overwhelm, and a flood of emotions,
Hmm.
right? So, whatever that situation is, it could be, hey, this guy served on the front lines of Vietnam. It could be, I was sexually abused. It could
Hmm.
be, I was neglected, abandoned. That is a flood of emotions that have hit your nervous system and
Yeah.
it's locked somewhere in here
Hmm.
and needs to be worked out. I'm so glad you asked that question because,
Hmm.
again, we like to minimize things that don't sound so horrific to
Hmm.
us, right?
Yeah.
But if
Yeah.
it shocks, overwhelms, surprises the nervous system, that is trauma.
Yeah, yeah, that's so
Mhm.
good. And especially when we have a fight or flight syndrome, and Thanksgiving and the holidays in general can bring us back into people we've been running from. Right. I've
Yeah.
stayed away from this family member, this uncle who abused me, or this father, this mother, whatever. I've run from them, and now I'm sort of forced to come back into close proximity. Now I get triggered again. Yeah.
Yes. And so that is the third step,
Okay.
recognizing the triggers.
Okay.
Recognizing the triggers. And so, what is a trigger? It is an emotional trigger is a stimulus that causes a strong or sudden emotional reaction.
Hmm.
And Dr. Brent, a trigger can be anything. It could be a smell, right? Maybe my mom was baking coconut pie when I
Hmm.
saw my dad hit her,
Mm.
right?
Wow.
And
Yeah.
so if I smell that at Thanksgiving, boom, I'm sent right back there,
Yep.
right? And so it can be a smell, it could be a person, it could be a situation, it could be a sound,
Mm.
right?
Hmm.
And really, a trigger is a signal that there's unhealed trauma. So
Right.
when I saw my dad hit my mom, that trauma somewhere here, and again, that's something I got to get worked out because if
Yeah.
I smell that coconut pie,
Mm.
and see my dad sitting at the table for Thanksgiving, that's gonna send shockwaves through my body all over again. And so I'm re-triggered, re-traumatized.
Yeah. Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. Uh,
Yeah.
all those things can trigger us. I remember, I mean, I've walked through places and smelt a perfume, and it just, whether it's a good or bad trigger, it just takes you back instantly to
Yes,
something, another season of
exactly.
life. And I would say it this way, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. But the goal for counseling, the goal for inner healing, is so that the trigger is no longer there. If there's a trigger, it
Mhm.
means somebody can pull that trigger, and that's not God. And we want God to
Yeah,
be the only one that can pull our trigger, so to speak. So.
so
Yeah,
true. And oh, I love that you brought that up because again, a trigger is a sign or signal of unhealed trauma,
right.
right? And so that's when we know I gotta go get help, right?
Yeah.
From some professional. And why is that important? Because if we don't, the trigger, when the triggers, when I know these are my triggers, some people just accept it,
Hmm.
right? Like that's just my trigger. That's just who I am. And that's a lie. That's
Right.
not who you are,
Right.
right? And so the enemy oftentimes, Dr. Brent, comes in and manipulates the trigger,
Hmm.
right? He manipulates that and it can lead to a lie,
Yeah.
right? Well, your mom doesn't love you because you're not lovable,
Mm.
right? And so now you're thinking that, and that leads to a spiritual agreement. I now agree with the enemy that I'm not lovable,
Mm.
right? And then that is what um, leads to the behavior,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And so I have to make a decision. Am I going to be trigger led or am I going to be Holy Spirit led?
Wow. Yeah.
Right? And so I have to take my trauma and take my trigger, right, to the Holy Spirit and say, hey, I'm inviting you in on this.
Hmm.
This thing is still hurting my heart,
Hmm.
right? Even with anger in Ephesians 4, he says, be angry,
Hmm.
but sin not,
And not. Yeah.
right? So God, I'm angry. My anger's triggered. Okay, what does the sin not part mean? It means invite him in because that's the only way I'm not going to sin when he's around, right?
Hmm.
And so be angry, but sin not, right? Be
Yeah.
triggered, but bring me in on this thing, right?
Right.
And so the decision for the believer is, am I going to be trigger led in
Yeah.
this trigger
Yeah.
informed society and let it identify me, or am I going to be Holy Spirit led?
My concern, and you basically said this, but I'm going to reinterpret it a little. My concern for any listener, especially when they're young, it seems like it's more common, but having a trigger is almost like a pride. It's like, oh, this is my
Yeah.
trigger. It's like they're proud of this trigger as if that's a good
Yeah.
thing. And they want the whole
Yeah.
world to know that they can get triggered by this. And they want everybody to walk
Mhm.
in eggshells around them, which is probably a whole
Yes.
nother podcast for that subject.
Yeah, it
But there's like
is.
this sense of pride around it. And what you're saying and what we're saying on here is if you have a trigger that is real and it's something to be dealt with, but it's not something to be prideful about and to hold in high esteem as if you're somebody because of it. It's something that's it's kind of a warning sign, right? If you're in a car, it's the little warning light going off in the car in
Yep.
the dash
Check
saying, hey,
engine.
hey, check something out here. We need to deal with this because we shouldn't be people that are getting triggered, especially not consistently in any pattern, which is too common.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we said that triggers could be anything, a smell or this or that.
Hmm.
It can be, since we're talking about family members at the Thanksgiving table, it can be family members who push your buttons.
Hmm.
It could be Uncle Bruce and Aunt Lorraine who are your triggers, right? And so, and with that being said, we have to be careful not to put unfair expectations on Uncle Bruce and Aunt Lorraine,
Yeah.
right? You've been in counseling for a year now, working on your thing. Well, Aunt Lorraine, she has not been. She is 72
Yeah.
and she's
Yeah.
still going to tell you how fat you are, right? And so,
Right. Yeah.
do you think you need another chocolate fudge cupcake?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
don't walk in that thing with unrealistic expectations, right?
Hmm.
And maybe it's Uncle Bruce. One of the triggers for me used to be just the questions,
Hmm.
those dreaded questions. Usually the older generations will ask, and they kind of sound like, um, so you're still single?
Yeah.
Do you even want to get married?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Well, your biological clock is ticking, or if they know you're not working. So you're still hunting for a job, huh?
Hmm.
You know? And so I think being prepared before you walk in there on Thursday is key, right? Number one, you know the questions. I knew the questions I was going to get. The
Hmm.
number one was going to be when you get married, right?
Hmm.
Number two was when you losing weight, you
Hmm.
know? And so it was it took a while for me to get here, right? But I had to get to a place where, number one, I anticipated it. But then number two, Kimberly, this isn't so much about Uncle Bruce and Aunt Lorraine. Yeah, they may be kind of obnoxious. However, why does this question mess with you so much?
Mm.
It's triggering you because there's unhealed trauma.
Yeah.
There's some shame and fear around you still being single at 32,
Mm.
right? And so I had to work through that, right? And a lot of times we're looking at them, but the question is, why does this bother me,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And for that question, for me, it kind of was a dig against my identity,
Hmm.
right? Like, am I not good enough? I'm not
Right.
married,
Right.
right? And am I not smart enough? Is there something in me missing, right? So I had to figure out and work out with a counselor why that triggered me, and now I'm able to approach the question with truth, right?
Hmm.
Well, Aunt Lorraine, I'm not married, and actually, it makes me kind of sad sometimes. But you know what? I don't want to talk about that today. I just want to be with you.
Yeah.
I just want to be with you, right? Let's have a happy Thanksgiving, right? And so doing the work first and figuring out, okay, what's going on with me?
Hmm.
And then when you do that, you're like free to tell the truth. Yeah, no, I'm not. And it makes me kind of sad, but that's not what today's about.
Yeah. Yeah. That's such good advice. That's such good advice. All right, before we go to point four, because I just want to
Yeah.
point this out, it's different than what you're talking about, but just
Okay.
quickly for people who might be listening to this show or watching this show today, that might be the head of the house where Thanksgiving is happening, I would actually take another step and say, as the head of the house, you set the culture. And if you
Yeah.
know that Aunt Lorraine or Uncle Bruce is going to say something rude, deal with it before it ever comes up. Deal with it so Dr. Kimberly or whoever that person is doesn't have to deal with it, because you set the culture and you can say, hey,
Yes,
this Thanksgiving, if you say this, I know you would never mean to be rude. I know you wouldn't do that, but it could be
that's right.
taken rude. Don't let's be really polite this year, because we know
Yeah.
we know those people that are going to say things, and we know
Yeah.
some of those triggers what they are. And so
Yes.
by just
Yes.
dealing with it
I
and go,
love that.
in our household, we're not going to act like that this year. And I've
Yeah.
had several moments myself where people have done it in my house, and I'll just
Ooh,
quickly just step right into it and say, hey, that I know you didn't mean to sound rude, but that could be taken really rude. Let's not say things like that. And
yeah.
I've never had anybody ever disagree with me. I think they get called on it, they recognize it, and
Mhm.
they acquiesce. So
For
that's probably a whole
sure.
nother show, whole nother conversation for leading a house during this time of year. But I think the other side of it is helpful as well. Yeah.
I think so. I think
Yeah.
you're spot on there. I visited another friend's house last year, and she made sure I told her, "Hey, I'm going to be late." But I got a call from her, and she goes, "Hey, as you can remember, last year was like election time. It was a lot of arguments back and forth. And she called each of us, and even me, even though I was going to be late. Like, I just felt like, girl, you didn't have to call me. Like, half the people
Hmm.
are going to be gone when I get there. And she said, "Hey, I'm just calling, letting everyone know that politics won't be a topic at the table,
There you go.
with the election that just
Yeah.
passed." And so we all respected it, and
Hmm.
there was not a problem, right?
There you go. Yeah.
And so I think you're right. Whose ever home it
Hmm.
is really can set the tone and
Yeah.
prepare a safe space. I
Yeah.
love that,
Yeah.
Dr. Brent.
Yeah, that can be hard if like in my house, I'll have people here that are my parents or my aunts and uncles, and they're a lot older than me. But I have found that they will still respect the rules of the house, so to speak. But it is a little awkward when you're talking to people who are older. We do that
Yeah.
naturally with our kids, but a little different with
Right.
the older crowd. So, all right, let's jump into
Exactly.
number four, the fourth step
Number
here.
four.
Yeah.
Last one, number four, be kind to your heart.
Mm,
What do I mean by that? And I'm going to use scripture just to catapult this. And I actually think this will sum up this entire episode. But Proverbs 4:23 says, "Above all else, guard your heart, for
right.
out of it flows the well springs of life."
Hmm.
Some versions say, flows the issues of life. I saw another version that said, it determines the course of your life, right? Um, your physical heart and your emotional heart need the same thing. Just like this physical heart's in the center of my body, if it suffered some kind of a heart attack or cardiac episode, I'm going to take extra care of
Hmm.
my heart, right? I'm going to watch what I eat. I'm going to do my exercise. I'm not going to overexert, right? And so
Right.
I'm going to do that for my physical heart. And so we need to do that with our emotional heart.
Mm,
When it says guard your heart, it's saying protect your heart, take care of your heart, be kind to your heart, right? Um, and so that means I may not need to go to the holiday party until I work out this trauma,
yeah.
right? It may mean, I think you said this earlier, it may mean I might need to sit at the other end of the table, right? I think it's important for you to understand that you have agency.
Hmm.
Maybe at 12 years old, we had to do what mama said,
Right.
but at 40 years old,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and even to the young folks that are watching this, you're 23, you do have agency, right?
Hmm.
And so be kind to your heart.
Mm, mm.
I think would be that final step. And I'm thinking maybe it should have been number one, because I think you just need to guard your heart in general, to
Hmm.
protect that emotional heart and really give it care.
Yeah. Isn't it funny that we would never uh, bash people around us and treat people ugly and say the
Yeah.
same things to them that we will say to ourselves? Like
Yes.
we will abuse ourselves with our inner words, our inner knowledge. We're worthless. I feel, so dumb. I feel not good enough. All these things, and we will abuse ourselves. We will be perfectionists who nothing we can ever do is good enough. But
Right.
but we would never dare say that to somebody else.
We
And
wouldn't.
sometimes I think we are being more kind to others than we are to ourselves. And I love what you're saying because you're giving permission to be kind to yourself as well.
That's exactly right. And I want to say this. I had a male client this week, and he was the reason why I thought about sharing this tonight. But he said, you know what, Dr. Kimberly, every time I go home, I come back like a mess. Like my sleep is off, my
Mm,
back is hurting. And that's because every family has like a stable story. What do I
hmm
mean by that? Every family has a story with actors. So there's the golden child, right? Maybe there's the golden child, maybe
hmm
there's the outcast. Maybe there's the one that could never get off drugs, but mama loves her still. Maybe it's the type A one, right, who needs everything perfect over the holidays and she gets on my nerves. And so when we get back to our family, we revert back to those roles, right?
hmm
I don't care if
Wow.
you're a grown man married for
Yeah.
10 years,
Wow.
right? And when you walk in the house, mom says, boy, take that hat off your head. You're going you're going
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
revert back. And that was his example,
hmm
right? And so we revert back to those roles,
mm
not knowing that, especially again, if there's unhealed trauma,
hmm
right? And so you're there and you're like, what is happening? You've just been triggered to revert back to the role that you were playing when you were 8,
mm
right? And
Wow.
so that means that there is aftermath to that, right?
hmm
Just like my client was saying, when that happens, you come back, you're wondering why your sleep is off. You're wondering why you got backaches, headaches. It's because your body just went through this whole
mm
role transference. And
mm
now you're like, "Ooh, now I can be myself."
Wow.
I don't know if that was a happy Thanksgiving or not.
Yeah. 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 Wow, that's so well put. That's beautiful. That's a great place to start wrapping up. You said be kind to yourself a minute ago, or be kind to your heart. Sorry, and I don't know why my mind went there, but it immediately went to this old phrase that we used to say from Blockbuster: "Be kind, rewind." So I'll end like this. Sometimes, if you're going to be kind to your heart, you need to rewind to the moment of trauma because you need to go to a counselor, you need to go to Dr. Kimberly, go to a
Yeah,
therapist, and rewind back to that place of trauma. That's how you are going to be kind and
love that.
find healing there. If you would love to meet with Dr. Kimberly, you can find her at myarisecoach.com, also
Yes,
myarisecounselor.com, same, take you to the same place. But
yep,
myarisecoach.com, and you can set an appointment to meet with her if you would like to do that, as well as any of our Rise coaches and counselors during the holiday season. Especially Lisa Miller has a special gift if you are a person who's lost a loved one at the holiday season
yeah,
and the trauma that,
hmm,
like you mentioned, triggers and the smells and the thoughts, and
yeah,
sometimes the holidays can be really difficult for that. And Lisa not
for
only does
sure.
counseling, I'm not sure what she's doing right this second, but she'll have grief share and things sometimes where a small group
Yeah,
can come together and kind of heal together. So you can find her
absolutely.
on myarisecoach.com as well. If you've written a couple books, take a quick second and tell us about those books and where people can find those.
Sure, I've written 2 books. This was my first book, If It Were a Snake,
hmm
and this one is the story about, when my mom was diagnosed with, cancer, and it was the last 11 months of her life. For those of you who don't know what "If It Were a Snake" means, it's a Southern idiom that means, "Hey, it was right in front of you." And
Right.
so in this story, I, talk about how God was right in front of me, but it was so hard for me to find him just because the cancer appointments, the surgery, the emergencies, and all of that. But I tell the story of him being right there the entire
Mm.
time, being our peace and our strength. This is my second book, Royalty Rescued. I wrote this book all about how the Lord delivered me from suicidal thoughts, depression, low self esteem, all the things I tell you about the day that happened. And I really encourage others in this book. You can get both of those from Amazon.
So good, so good. Thank you. Now, you also, like, if somebody wanted you to speak or got to teach a seminar, you do that kind of stuff too, don't you?
Absolutely, absolutely. They can get in contact with me through Arise. You've already given them that website, or they can contact me through another site called myliferestoredcounseling.com. Myliferestoredcounseling.com. That is the handle on all my social media. You'll be able to get in contact with me, and my phone number to be there as well. So
Yeah.
come and see me.
Yeah. All right. So if you want to go see Dr. Kimberly, you know how to do that now. All those links will be in the show notes, so you can just click them right there. Make it easy for you. If do me a favor, if you enjoyed this, we love to see comments every single week that I post. I love to read people's comments, see what people are thinking. Sometimes they have questions, and I love to try to come back to those questions later on in other videos that we make. And so leave a comment. Do me a favor, make sure you like and subscribe. Make sure you share this with somebody. This may be
Yes,
I don't know. This might be the one that you need to share to the head of the house that you're going to,
that's
or whatnot.
right.
But think through that. Who do you need to share this episode with today that would bless somebody else? And then again, make sure you like, subscribe, make sure you rate this, especially if you're on Spotify or someplace where the ratings really matter and will really help other people to find this good content. But with that all being said, we are getting on the verge of Thanksgiving now. We will have a Thanksgiving episode that we'll put out. At least that's the plan right now. But until we see it on the next episode of Creating the Future, God bless you. Dr. Kimberly, thank you so much for being with us. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely. Anytime. God bless you. Thank you so much. It was my honor and pleasure. And happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Happy Thanksgiving. God bless you guys.